Hello again to you, Mr. Heiler students. Thank you again for having me as a guest teacher in your remote classroom this week. So I'm now going to explain the activity that we're going to try to do over the next couple of days. So you should have this Argument in the Real World Google Doc in your Google Classroom. And what we are going to do briefly is go through two parts. Today we're going to talk about all the elements that fit under part 1. It was 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. And we'll come back and go through those in a little more detail in just a moment. And then later in the week, what I'll do is release another video where you complete part 2. So the main thing that I want us to be thinking about right now is that when we go online and we see lots of different information from different sources about different ideas, it's sometimes really hard to discern. I know that librarians and teachers and our caregivers and parents tell us that we should be critical and think about what is being presented there, but sometimes it's really hard. Even when we're reading about something that's the same topic and we know it's from two different sources, it's difficult to figure out exactly what they're saying. So what this activity is going to try to do is walk you through that process in a little more detail. And we're going to be thinking about this idea about the debate about reopening America after the global pandemic and trying to figure out what it is we can do. And we're going to read 3 different ways. We're going to look at 2 sources, but look at them in 3 different ways. First, we're going to just read them just like we would on the internet as we find them. Second, we're going to look at some snapshots, like what they would look like in social media. And then third, we're going to look at them by creating a word cloud. And so I'm going to walk you through that process right now. So as Mr. Heiler and I mentioned, I found these 2 articles through the site called All Sides. And what All Sides does is it really tries to bring in a number of different perspectives from different sides of the political spectrum. So things that might be considered to be more liberal or democratic are usually considered to be leaning to the political left. Things that are considered to be Republican or more conservative are from the political right. And what I did is I went into the topic guide for coronavirus, and I wanted to try to find 2 articles that dealt specifically with reopening the states. When and why and how are we going to be reopening the states? Now, you could go into All Sides and you could search and look through all these articles. It took me a little while to dig in because you can see there are quite literally dozens and dozens of articles. And so it took me a while to dig in, and I'm not going to share all the searching that I went through to get to these 2 articles. But I will share with you the 2 articles that I found. So the first one is an article from ABC News. And you'll see the social media graphic for that has that little image right there rather than the full video. But here's the article, and you'll have a chance to link to that and read it. So that one is considered generally a little bit on the political left, where the media bias charts talk about ABC News being. The other article that we're going to look at is from the political right, and it is from Reason Magazine. And while it does deal a little bit more with Tennessee and Georgia, it certainly does give you a sense of what the debate is like and going on in different states. So I'm going to first welcome you again to read those articles and just kind of take a few moments to compare and contrast some of the ideas and write about 3 to 5 sentences in this gray space in the document here to capture your initial thinking about this debate over when and how America should reopen. So you can go ahead and pause the video and take a few minutes to read, write your response, and then start us up again. All right, so welcome back. Now that you've had a little bit of time to dig into both sides of the debate and see a little bit more about what opinion polls and the opinions of politicians and others are saying about this debate, we're going to now move back into our document. What I've done here is I've captured just a social media style headline. Like if I were to find this on Facebook or Twitter or someone were to have sent it to me in a text message, I'm going to see these dominant images with the headlines, and I'm going to see the source from where they came from. What I'd like you to think about right now are these 3 questions. As you look at this, who created the message and what do you already know about these 2 sources? So you could write a little bit about that down here. Secondly, what creative techniques are being used to attract my attention? So, for instance, what do you see in the headlines? Quite literally, what words do you see that are most dominant as you look across the headlines? And then also, what do you notice about the photographs? What is it that's most important and prominent in the photographs? What's in the background of the photographs? Who are the types of people being featured in the photographs? So you're going to take a few moments and really puzzle through and think about what you see. And again, you're going to fill that information in right here in this gray box below. So go ahead, again, pause the video, take a few minutes to think about what you see, and fill in that box with 3 to 5 sentences of your own writing. All right, welcome back. I hope that you had a little bit of time to think through those 2 articles just by looking at the headlines and the social media style images, thinking about what's most important in those articles and what you might be able to glean from those articles in your reading. Now we're going to look at those articles in a slightly different way. What I've done is I've used a tool called Voyant, and if you were to click on these different examples right here, you can actually go in and you could look at the database that I created. What I did is I basically took all of the words from the one article and I put them into Voyant, which is a tool that other professors who study language like to use when they're studying language. And we're only really most concerned about all this. There's a lot of other cool things that Voyant can do, but we're really just kind of looking at this word cloud here. So again, here's one as it would look from the ABC News article. And then here's the other one that we would see if we were to look at just the Reason article. And I moved it down to 25 words for each one. And what you'll notice when you look at the word clouds that are already there in the Google Doc assignment template is that you can kind of now see how does this one side of the news story write about it and talk about it, and what are some of the main words and ideas that the other side uses. Now again, remember I told you this one article did have a lot to do with Georgia and their Governor Kemp and Tennessee, so it's a little difficult. I'm not quite comparing apples to apples here. I wish I could have found another article that dealt with a more national poll from the political right. I couldn't. I just found the one from the states. But anyway, you should be able now to be looking at these and thinking about what the big words are. What are the dominant words that you see in the ABC News article? What are the dominant words that you see in the Reason article? And here are some questions. So, what do you see and notice? Okay, what does that make you think about the way that different media use different language? And then what does it make you wonder as you think about how readers of these 2 articles might interpret what you see? Again, we're going to keep writing. We're going to do a little bit more writing today just to think through these ideas. So take this last segment, take a few moments, and in that gray box, try again to write about 3 to 5 sentences using those questions. And that's it for today. So after you get done with that part, you can end the video, and I'll see you again later in the week. Thanks.